Let's get into weapon mastery and start talking about the marshals. I believe this is for every class except the monk class and bard. Bard included?
Well, no. It'll be for every class that's martial, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So barbarian, fighter, paladin, ranger, and rogue are the classes that it covers. This is like a new, basically putting like new weapon qualities or what's the term I can't think of? Attributes to the weapons.
Powers.
Where anytime you hit or miss with a martial attack, you can now put this attribute or this quality, basically have it happen within your attack.
Well, it depends. If the weapon quality says when you miss, you still do damage, that happens when you miss.
Right.
But if it says when you hit and deal damage, it'll only happen on those times.
Correct.
Each one will specifically have a trigger.
So
Gotcha. Which, yes.
And as far as I understand it, so if we imagine the list of weapons that we have in the current Player's Guide 2014, you'll get the light, the finesse quality on your weapon. You'll get the reach, whatever.
Right. This is just adding to it.
Then it'll also say, for instance, cleave is one of them. And that'll be like certain weapons, like the great axe, right? Obviously, is a cleaver. And then there'll be like nick for the knife, which will have a quality.
Yeah,
so
it's almost like
listed next to the weapon.
It's almost like it gives more. Like I think you were saying, Sean, that it can give more reason to use a variety of weapons,
correct.
Or maybe even carry a variety of weapons on your person to use them in different circumstances.
I think so.
As far as just, I'm the two-handed battle axe guy. I'm always going to be the two-handed battle axe guy. And then what happens if the DM's like, here's a cool dagger, and I feel like it adds. It makes combat more situational and more strategic. I feel, because you can now plan, okay, we're going to go in, I'm going to sap this guy, and then we're going to do whatever on this guy, so then the sorcerer can do this to that person. And what do you guys feel as far as like the strategy of using?
Oh yeah, you're going to have somebody who you would expect to have a great sword because of the 2d6 damage to instead now have a quarterstaff, because the fighter is going to go, I'm going to topple these two guys, and then the two rogues are going to come in and have advantage and sneak attack.
Yeah, and that's really ultimately all I've ever wanted from my D&D.
Topple and sneak attack
is the ability to work with the party and create these cool strategies and combinations that you can build upon. And I think that's something that I think this is probably one of maybe my favorite part of what they've introduced, is because it just gives so much more life to what you can do. It gives players more reason to work together in a fight, which I think is so important as a DM who just wants everybody to not just run in the room and smack things.
Right. Potentially to talk about strategy before the fight instead of in the middle or afterwards. I also feel like it makes combat more cinematic and more like it's not just, the wizards doing all this cool stuff with the spells and they're taking like 20 minutes to do their turn. And then now the fighters, and then it gets to the fighter's turn, they're just like, rolled twice and I missed. And move it on to the next person. Like I feel like it's
it helps the DM too. The DM is going to look at, my barbarian decided to pick a weapon that has a push quality.
Yeah,
I guess there's lava here now. I guess, and there's twice as many bad guys.
I think these are going to surprise a lot of DMs going in for the early games, and that they're not considering that now the players have all these extra abilities, and you are going to get like, here's the big boss or whatever. You just knocked him 10 feet into lava. Great.
So let us know what you think in the comments. Which weapons masteries are you interested in?
And then Nathan.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying that generally I like the idea.
He fucking hates it.
No, generally I like the idea. Listen,
this is Nathan setting you up for a bit of a fail. Calm down.
I play martial characters almost primarily when I play, and specifically the rogues, and I like the rogues having these things. That said, the fact that this happens every time, your weapon happens every time, it's just going to become part of, I missed, let's do the saving throw. He didn't fall down, let's go. You know what I'm saying? That it's going to become an every time kind of thing. It's just...
But I feel like because it's I believe in
you can slow things down.
I believe it says you have to make the call Because I do agree. I feel like if you just go in where you don't get to say which quality you're going to use until you hit or miss, it's going to be like you're never going to miss, because if you just miss, you'll be like, oh, I'm using this weapon, so I'm just going to do the grays.
There's only one that... There's
Grays.
only one... Yeah. So that's very rare.
But I'm just saying, if you roll bad like I do, and every time you miss, you'll be like, oh, I did grays. Like, I think you have to call.
You're only going to get one property, and you won't have to call any.
You want right.
It's just part of the weapon attack.
So every time
But
I miss,
it's
so I'm going to
every
hit it.
time.
Which
You're
you
only
do your ability
raised
damage.
weapon is what you're saying.
Hang on.
Yes, always a grays weapon.
But I
That would
think,
be the
but I
count
think,
of
but I
weapons.
think that's the thing. I think there might be some misunderstanding. So if I pick a weapon and it's got the graze property,
Right.
and I go to attack Sean's character and I miss, I can still use the graze property.
You
so,
you do
hit.
damage every time.
So how is that?
not
How
a
is that?
lot.
How is that a bad thing?
Or slowing things down, yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it just...
There's no extra roll.
Well, that's specific.
I guess there's a
that's,
saving
that's
throw.
I'm thinking of it
Not
from
for
perspective
grays.
from the perspective of as the dungeon master.
See,
I
I'm
feel like
I'm a dungeon master that barely remembers to do the concentration spell because I'm mostly fixated on what kind of crap the villain is going to say to you next turn. So,
the purple.
so having more to keep track of, because you're going to be like, okay, you hit him and you applied this state, you hit him and you applied this state, you hit him and you applied this state. Well, you didn't get that. So there's more of that kind of bookkeeping, which
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of.
That's for the player to do. And look, long time player, first time caller. Clerics are doing this stuff. Sorcerers are doing this stuff every round.
Yeah,
Concentration spell
I agree with that.
or spiritual guardians. Anyone? You got to roll beginning of your turn for the thing, and we're going to keep doing that.
I
but now
almost
with other
think for these abilities that they shouldn't be every time, that you should either have a pool that you use per fight, or you have some other bonus that you give up to try and do the effect. But that's
Boo.
just
But that's
Do
just,
this, man.
that's just as much bookkeeping. I mean,
more.
that's might be more bookkeeping in my opinion. Like first of all, I think if you think about it, the DM as the DM, I'm going, oh no, I have to do more bookkeeping. But you need to.
well. Then
if you're at a
you're keeping track of status effects now.
Well, that's not necessarily true because
Well, it
these are all
depends
for
on the one, but
they're all for players to keep track of. The player will go, you move 10 feet. Or the player will go, you're prone. That's always a possibility something like that can happen. You don't have to keep track of that.
the players also got to keep track of when it goes away.
So give us an example.
Yeah.
If we're gonna get into this,
Scroll down a little,
scroll
Kevin.
down.
Let's
Yeah,
get
yeah.
a
Let's-
specific example of what we think might slow down combat. Because I actually
This is interesting.
think this will be fine.
I
So you pick one, Nathan, when you see a problem.
I feel like without putting Nathan too much on the spot.
No. We're putting Nathan on the spot.
yeah.
I feel like
He took a
there's.
stance and he said-
This is one of the things where I feel like once you start playing it, it's going to become commonplace, and it's going to be just as easy to manage as the other things. And I do feel like in modern role playing games, they prompt the dungeon master to put more things on your players, and I think that's what this is one of the things that you put on your players. I know you still have to like keep track of who has what quality, but I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, any of these qualities. It's like you knock the person down for a round. It's not like you have to
Yeah, but
continue
we're trying to
like a
dog pound
bleed.
Nathan now, though.
I know, but
Well,
but
I'm also
but
thinking
for,
when you start adding these on top of Battle Master and things like that, it becomes a lot more complicated.
You'll finally
in that
have an
situation
interesting
too.
martial character. I agree.
I understand.
I mean, D&D is
I understand
D&D. There's other interesting games.
I understand.
magic. I think it's magic. It's all magic.
I understand the impetus. I think that, or the other thing is, we don't know how many. We don't know that every weapon is going to have these, or that every.
I think they have to.
Oh, I believe that they do.
I think you have to.
I think it says it up here.
Because you know what happens to the weapon that doesn't have a quality? That weapon doesn't get used.
Yeah. Which I think is fine, because I'm just going to make one comparison. This is where I sit on this. One of these weapon masteries, right, pushes, I think is it just called push? Yeah, it pushes somebody 10 feet away. There's a Warlock Eldritch Invocation that does that with an Eldritch Blast. I've used that in games before. Very handy, very simple to use.
And if you have, sorry to, just a thought that popped into my head.
Uh-huh.
If you have multiple attacks, these will work every time you hit, right?
Yeah.
So you can,
But you might not
if you have
choose
two
to
attacks,
push somebody. Yeah.
and you push somebody, well, I guess it would always be 10 feet away from you. But what if you have a weapon that has a range?
That's
Like, will these
good.
be on? I mean, I know they're on crossbows. I know that they slow and whatnot.
Yeah, there are some that are going to be
but if you have
ranged.
like a halberd that has like a range of 5 feet or whatever, and you push somebody 10 feet and then move 5 and knock them another, You can get them like 15 feet away from your party. I don't know. I feel like
Look,
there's so much strategy
A fighter
involved.
at
I
level
love
3
it.
could move somebody 60 feet with a push weapon.
I like
If you've got 3 attacks, sorry, what level? Like 11 or whatever.
Yeah.
If you've got 3 attacks,
I
you
love
can
it.
move somebody 60 feet. Finally,
There's
to
lava.
do something.
There's lava within
Yeah.
60 feet for sure.
Kevin,
Yes.
what weapon mastery do you think you're going to want to use in your first game?
I like sap, but I also feel like at my table I would use sap not necessarily because I feel like a mace is blunt, but that's gonna it's gonna crack your skull. There's gonna be some rippage. But I do feel like you could use the flat part of your blade to potentially do a sap or something like that. But maybe it would be with disadvantage since it's not one of the weapon qualities.
You want to be a little more manipulable.
I would be a little bit more.
Nathan,
Well, I mean, come on, the dual crossbow murder situation that we already have in the game. You just add these on top of it, and then you'd be like,
so slow. If you want to go with slow,
it would go with slow, and then you would be nimbling out of their way, and you would just be.
sounds fun to me.
If you have fast load and you can shoot somebody twice with like a light crossbow, can you slow them 20 feet?
Yes.
Nice.
It seems like
that.
you could reduce their speed all the way to 0 if you had enough attacks.
See,
I like that.
I like that too.
as a player, you'd be like, I love all of this. As a dungeon master, you're thinking,
Nah, you just add more
also-
monsters.
But here's
Also kind of lame because you're usually shooting at like the casters in the background, and who cares if they're slow? They're not
here's the thing though that I think that I have to remind myself of this all the time. Make the fights harder.
Yeah.
Increase the difficulty of your bad guys.
Just add guys.
Because they have more abilities, sure. So the bad guys are going to be, because we've all felt that urge, whether we've done it or not, to like be like, oh, this is like 5 minutes into session 1 and I might TPK these guys, right? And so like part of your brain is going, oh God, I really hope they make it, right? Now you don't have to worry about that as much because they can handle more. Is my view on it. So I can hit them harder and be like, I don't have to feel bad.
I don't know.
They have
Star
all these
Wars.
tools.
Star Wars has always had weapon qualities, and I TPK'd you guys in the first bit.
But the bad guys are going to have weapon masteries as well.
That's right.
And Mo, which weapon mastery do you like the look of?
I think I'm gonna go with Nick because I like the idea of working with. I always wanted daggers to function the way you want them in your fantasy to, and I think that in D&D they haven't found a way to do that, to make daggers feel like they're like impactful in that way. So I would go with Nick.
What does Nick do? Remind
He's
me.
my favorite Backstreet Boy.
It allows you to make the additional attack
I
you receive from wielding 2 light weapons as part of the initial attack action, leaving your bonus action free, perhaps to be a cunning action for a rogue. For me, I'm coming at it from a point of view of prone is awesome, always. So I think topple is what I'd be interested in.
Okay.
Let us know what weapon masteries you want to use in your first 2024 game in the comments.
Let me do that. Let us know what
You've already
weapons
done it.
masteries you want to use in your 2024 games.
I'm going to try another one. Guys, we've been talking weapon masteries, but we want to know what you
Guys,
think.
I want to know what you guys think about weapon masteries.
Is your name Nick?
Is your name Sap?
So Vex.
Okay.
Topple my ass. Let us know in the comments.
So anyway, that's weapon masteries. Let us know in the comments what you feel like you want.
Boo.
Hey, I'm editing this, so mine's gonna make it.
Boo.
Let us know in the comments what you guys feel about weapon mastery and what your favorite is, or if you're like Nathan, you hate everything.
Everything.